Lydia, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yes,
Of
of course.
course.
Thanks for
So
coming.
this is awesome. So let me tell you, I got to tell you one thing before we start. So chat, you probably don't know this, but um, Lydia was originally going to be on the show about a month ago, I think, right? Wasn't that what we talked about? No. This is good.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to put you on blast. I'm not trying to put you on Front Street. Check it out. So we were doing the show the week before. We were planning on having you in October, and the chat was like, "Hey, who's going to be on next week?" We were ending the show, and a bunch of people in the chat were asking, "Who are you guys having next week?" I said, "Oh, we got Lydia from Avalabs. It's going to be awesome." The chat went nuts. Okay, so the chat has been waiting for this, so I'm very excited to have you here. Thank you for air horn for your participation, and yeah, just welcome to the show. Really glad to have you.
Thank you. Love the air horn. I will say it's one step below my live stream of having walk-on music, but having an air horn for my welcome is pretty good.
Well, when we have you back, we will do walk-on music for you. Now we know that. We can totally make that happen. So, and actually, let me lower the air horn because it's very loud. But but before I do that, Lydia, if you wouldn't mind, we do a thing called the people behind the projects. If you wouldn't mind talking about yourself a little bit, how you got into crypto, how you got into finance. I follow you on Twitter, guys. She's at CLOB Lydia on Twitter. Awesome Twitter handle. Love it. If you could talk about your journey a little bit, how you got into crypto, how you got involved with Avalabs, and we'd love to hear it. We'd love to hear your story.
Yeah, it's a long journey. Especially if we go back to it's encyclopedia, and the genesis of that was when I was like 7 years old, and I had this music teacher who would sing, the Groucho Marx song in Lydia the Tattoo Lady. And I would just be plagued with this every morning, Monday through Friday, for like 2 years while I had this one band teacher. And I would say it was really, really annoying to deal with for a while, but I think I got to a point in my life where I was like, okay, I'm going to accept it. I'm just going to make it a part of me because it just never ended. So now it's my handle. But I know
that's
you didn't
what
ask
happened
me
with
about
Jimmy
that.
2 times as well. So I know where you're coming from.
Just like you just take the little traumas that happen to you and you grow with it.
Yeah, you gotta embrace them and you gotta convert them into strengths, right?
Exactly. Now I own it. It's mine.
Yeah, and I guess how did you
Yeah.
yes.
Sorry, so back to your background. I love the Twitter handle so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'd love to hear your story.
Yeah, I think mine is probably similar to a lot that you've heard for people coming from TradFi. But
Sure.
I started out in TradFi in 2007 at Credit Suisse. So it was a bulge bracket investment bank right before the global financial crisis. I mean, that's the best place to be, right?
Well timed. 07.
It was so well timed.
07 is better than 09. I'll tell you that, or 08.
True. But I started in 2007, and then in 2010, it was like, I don't think this is the right place to be anymore, guys.
Sure.
We're not in Kansas anymore moment. And I was like, okay, I got to get out of here. So I moved to hedge funds, and I was investing in internet, SaaS, fintech, and video game companies. So that was kind of where I discovered crypto, like covering internet, because back then it was just like, what is Google? What is Facebook, Amazon, all this stuff.
Sure.
And
right.
And like they were, those are still new things at that moment in time. Like Web 2 was not a thing yet. And in 2013, like the analysts and on sell side and buy side started hearing about like Bitcoin, like what is this thing? And because the white paper had dropped a while, but like TradFi is slow to learn about innovation. So it didn't like really make the rounds until 2013. I like read the white paper, and I'll admit, like I didn't have the foresight back then. I was like, okay, I don't really get it.
Too technical, right? Too aggressively technical, and like it's difficult to see the actual immediate applications to our real lives, right? Yeah.
It was, and I think a lot of the narrative at that point too was like, this is going to be the next like payment. It's a new currency. Like we're going to pay with it, right? And like the volatility. yeah, and it was like, my God, the volatility in this thing is like a horrible means of payment. Like, if you were like, why would you want to pay with this ever? But I kept an eye on crypto generally, and then in 2015, when the Ethereum pre-mine happened, and it was like smart contracts, automated like programmability and moving value around with code. I was like, this makes sense to me. Like, I can understand this. And it was more obvious to me the implications of that. And then I still had my day job, obviously, but then I was like, okay, like, market's closed. I'm gonna start reading about all this like other stuff now. And so that was when I actually like took a deep dive into all the different projects, and I became very familiar with like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and followed the market until like the crazy ICO bubble, of course, and then joined. And then it was just kind of like my last stop on Wall Street was also at a market neutral firm. And I was always fundamental long short. And for people who like don't really get what this means, like fundamental long short allowed you to like really have conviction in making your investments, and you could like kind of invest at size if you felt really like strongly committed to an idea or a position. And then market neutral is much more like you can't really take risk on either side, long or short. And so when like your first job really defines who you are. And I've always been fundamental long short. So it was always like, okay, risk taking and, like smart risk taking. But that was like the thing. And then I think market neutral was like the straw that broke the camel's back. And I was like, okay, this is not for me. I got to get out of here. And I had an opportunity to join Shares Post, which was a secondary market for pre-IPO shares. And this was in like 2017, 2018, where all the ICOs were very clearly unregistered securities offerings, largely because there was no network. Like, these things were raising with like just the token contract, literally no application, no utility. And I was like, okay, these things need a place to trade. So why don't we extend the capability of Shares Post to cover, because it had a broker dealer and also an HAS, an alternate trading system, which kind of gives it the ability to trade things similarly to like a regulated exchange, but at a slower pace, let's say.
Okay.
Also less risk generally. So we were trying to build out the marketplace to enable a compliant trading platform for security tokens. And then we were also trying to attack the market from the other direction, which was tokenizing private shares, which, by the way, to this day is like not possible. There was a lot of demand, but like because there was so much demand that like no one really wanted to tokenize it. Like, there was no need to do it. Like, people are still coming to the market to buy up, Airbnb before they IPO'd. So why fix something that ain't broke, right? Like, that was that. And then you can imagine that working at a broker dealer ATS required a lot of conversations with regulators, lawyers, and convincing them that security tokens are not frauds or scams, and this is like a legitimate business, and we should invest time here. So that was kind of what I did for a year plus until 2019, and then I learned of what Eamon was building here at Avalabs, and so I was working with John Wu at the time, our current president at Shares Post. So he joined Avalabs first, and then it was like, hey, building a layer one, and the mission is to digitize the world's assets. And it just seemed like a better way to accomplish the vision that we had, rather than going at it from like a super regulated broker dealer path. And so that's how I got to Avalabs. Not super exciting.
No,
that's a great story.
I mean, I love it. It's always interesting to hear people's journeys because, you might be surprised to hear that everybody's got like the paths are not all equal. You know what I mean? Everybody like has
That
their
is
own thing. So
I think a lot of
it's always
paths
cool.
lead to Rome, but I think in this case, like, the reason why I really like that story is like you are coming at it from trying a few things that may be viewed as potential solutions to the same problem, right? Creating liquidity ability to allow the stuff that's normally liquid to be traded or to be accessible to more people, and eventually finding a place where technology and good tech effectively allows that to happen, maybe in a much more efficient way, hopefully soon, right?
Right.
And at a nice and early time that that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was around for the last bear cycle.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of remember, seeing the white paper. I took the ignorance to one step, like further, where like I saw the white paper, ignored it. I had trader friends of mine who were like showing me what Bitcoin was doing in the market, and like they gave me a terrible explanation. Instead of being curious about it, I was like, bro, that sounds stupid. And like, I hung it up till 2016 probably, which I thought was funny. But great story. Thanks for sharing. Obviously, as a community, we're quite happy that you're also on the team. You are doing what you're doing. So can you give us a little bit about, what your responsibility is, I guess, at Avalabs? That'd be useful for people to know as well.
Yeah, it has evolved. I mean, I joined the team in February of 2020, and I've done a number of things here because, I joined when we were like less than 20, and now we're much bigger. So the role has evolved over time, but largely, it's been mainly BD focused. In the early days, there was a bit of like marketing and then BD as well. And then last year, we launched the Blizzard Fund, which is the Avalanche Ecosystem Fund. So I think, given where I sat on the BD side and also my background, where it was largely public, but a lot of private investing experience as well, that it made sense for me to also split my time between BD and Blizzard and actually combine like that holistic view of the ecosystem with how to deploy capital or where to deploy capital. So nowadays, BD, Blizzard, and just kind of like things that I, talking to awesome people and meeting folks in the ecosystem and just supporting projects generally.
And wearing really cool sweatshirts, by the way. That's all. I gotta get one of those.
Oh yeah, this was at the summit in Barcelona this past year. Yeah. I got like my little handle right there too.
Yeah, it's a special and personalized one. Very nice.
Firestorm, we gotta get those. We
gotta get those produced for ourselves as well.
If the team's watching, we gotta get those.
Hopefully the right people, who hold the purse are watching. I would imagine. I expect some comments shortly. But
there's a swag store launching soon, I think. I heard. A little bird told me.
Hopefully it will be bear market appropriate priced, I imagine. Right.
We gotta get Avalanche Jordans and Avalanche Dunks. When are we doing those? Sneakers. We gotta get you're in New York, right?
How do you get the rights for those? Like I don't like you have to get the rights for those, or is this like a secondary market, like you buy it and then you get it done custom?
Isn't there like a story out there where like a artist singer guy?
Yeah, I think Lil Nas X did that.
Yeah, he like did stuff on it. Now he's like sued up the wazoo.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
That was too bad.
But did he just
those were really cool?
Do it his own? Was it? I mean, like it's clearly because it like he has a following.
Right. And they knew that they could cash in.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. What up to Nihat, the axolotl himself is up in the chat. What's up,
Nihat? Whoa.
Amazing.
Hello.
I see like all the confirmations.
Sorry. Okay. It's Jonathan Ackerman correcting us. He's the true hype beast in the chat. He did it through mischief, not Nike. Okay. Sorry, hype beast, Jonathan. But basically a lot of work. Yes, correct.
So I guess one thing that is important for us to mention is thank you for all the support you've given us, Dex, a lot along the way. Obviously, you guys are a big part of what we've achieved so far and what we're planning to do. And thank you for your continued support. I think, that needs to be said. Blizzard is obviously a very big part of the community. And on behalf of the community, we thank you for everything you are doing and, also what you will do, I'm sure, in the future. It's very valuable, to say the least.
So guys,
thank you for those. I would love to hear it.
Oh, sorry. What was that?
I was gonna say we're here to support the ecosystem, and we love working with you guys. And you guys have really cool motifs and everything too. It's really fun working with you guys. I think it's the other one.
Yes.
I guess Jonathan is responsible for a lot of that. So shout out to
the music, the branding, all that stuff is taken very seriously around here. We have a production crew and our fearless leaders at the helm, making sure these things are done properly, right?
Properly in a fun way, a way that's fun for everybody. You know what I mean? That's one of the key tenets. So, but I do have both of you guys here. Obviously, there's a lot going on in our space. So
what I missed? What happened?
So yeah, I don't know. There's something happened. This guy with the big hair. I don't know. So
kind of like your hair, by the way. And then under that beanie, I bet there's
under the beanie, right?
Yeah, I could totally. Well, I've had the beanie on all day. I got the hat hair.
It's under control. It seems right now. But I've seen it in different states.
It's so cold in here. It's so cold. It's like I said. It's crypto winter. You got to bundle up. You know what I mean? So but like I was saying, Lydia, if you haven't heard, crypto exchange FTX has run into some problems. You may have heard about this, guys. Since I got two big brains in the Avalanche ecosystem on the show right now, we gotta at least touch on this. It's the kind of the elephant in the room. I know I don't want to touch on it too much because I know that there's been a million Twitter Spaces and a million YouTube and Twitter updates about this, but let's talk about it a little bit because I know it's on everybody's minds. Firestorm, you were tweeting about the situation a little earlier today. Maybe you could expand on what you were
obviously Lydia is going to have a very unique perspective on this, but my kind of view is like the main thing here that I felt when I saw this is it sort of validates our mission and what we're trying to do, right?
Sure.
Creating a solution that eliminates the need for trust in the case of trading, the custodial relationship is very critical, right? Because we've seen too many cases, and this is not like a crypto problem, right? We've seen too many cases in TradFi as well, where a trusted intermediary does bad things, right? Like we've seen it with banks before, we've seen it with other companies before, and it's no surprise that we're seeing it with entities that are launched that look like the old world solutions. Yeah. And Dexalot is, as a part of the vision here, is looking to solve the need for trusting a intermediary party, right? And in that sense, I think it's extremely sad, right? Our hearts go out to people who lost capital, who lost investments, who lost savings, and I think like at one point we all need to, like as community, as humans, need to figure out that let's make these solutions better and like less damaging, right? Like, or like more defensive, like non-custodial solutions where you can look on chain and see that everything is okay solves this problem. That's kind of my view, and I'll hand it over to Lydia. Lydia, like, what's your take on everything that's happening?
Well, I think the first bit was even upon hearing about it and kind of knowing the scale at which FTX operated, and this is on a global scale. Right. It's really the fact that a lot of retail users are now either they're trapped or the funds are completely gone. Like we don't even know because of the hack, or I was gonna but
right, yeah.
But that's the really sad part, and it does definitely solidify the need to build out decentralized, transparent systems, of which DeFi blockchain uniquely enables. Like, you're not going to have a Lehman moment, with on-chain smart contracts, ones that you can see. Like the fact that they're open source, you can tell what exactly the code does. Like no one's gonna wonder like, where did my money go?
Right.
And like, because you'll know before you use it, you know exactly what it's supposed to do. And I think also this it also like may accelerate the need for a better user experience, because even with self-custody, or a lot of the reason why people don't do it is because it's difficult to do it well, right? You know, to make sure that your own private keys don't get compromised, and then you don't lose access to your private keys and other people can't get access to it. Like, these are all things that are not easy to do if you're not really crypto native or not used to dealing with like little bit software with a little bit of friction. You know, like these are things that Web 2 has taught retail users that you shouldn't have to deal with. Literally just email, password, and you're good. And then you have stuff like hacks all the time of personal data. You know, like we need to have a better means of securing our assets and our data. Data is just another asset that we have.
Yeah,
absolutely. And oh, sorry. Please go ahead.
No, I was just saying, like, that's I'm super bullish on maybe that we'll make more progress on kind of making the user experience smoother, easier, but still secure, and then you know, like allowing the individual to protect themselves.
Absolutely. I think there's like a couple things that I've come across over the last few days. Number one, I think the distinction, or at least the education level of the general community, you know, it's retail institutions, is not yet there for people to understand how DeFi and CeFi differ, right? I've literally had a conversation yesterday where a person specifically said DeFi is under pressure right now. Like, my view is DeFi is not under pressure. If anything, like what I'm seeing in terms of the reactions from people who know what's happening around them is that they prefer DeFi now because their eyes were opened. Some people lost money. Some people observed others losing money. And everybody's now seemingly advocating for going towards a decentralized, transparent, non-custodial solution for these types of systems, number one. Number two, on the regulatory side, right? Like, I've had the privilege, pleasure, displeasure, whatever you want to call it, of, you know, having to deal with some regulatory requests in the past in my career, right? You know, I was part of trading outfits here and there, and like every now and then, especially in the equity space, like the firms that I worked for would request, what did you guys do here? Show me the evidence that your intention was XYZ. Prove it to me with, like, you know, execution algorithm logs and blah, 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 right? It's a big exercise of you digging into very large logs, finding out evidence that whatever your algorithm was supposed to do is actually what it did. And the reason why regulators needed to do this, go to the person operating the algo and ask it, is because they did not have the transparency. Now, imagine a world, right, where the actual transparency around the behavior of a matching engine, an exchange, and the trading and everything is completely open on the blockchain, right? It's actually there, it's recorded, and you as a regulator can come and actually check without having to ask the guys who are writing the code or ask the guys who are, you know, running the strategies. It's like literally there. And CeFi doesn't have it, right? All the systems are closed server-based systems, and DeFi actually, in my opinion, allows regulators to have a much better view as to what's going on in the market. Now, of course, people need to understand that first. And when people equate crypto and DeFi and Web3 and everything in a single, you know, sort of bucket and say it's bad,
right,
you know, that's where we're sort of struggling today, in my opinion. But I think these types of episodes are educational, right? I think now it's required because, you know, lots of US people also lost money. This was a company that was operating in the US. Now the regulators will have to come in and really, really push the education on themselves to, you know, do the right thing. They may not come up with the right rules right away, but at least through trial and error, I think, you know, we're going to build stronger from where we are today. That's kind of how I look at it.
I guess my question is for kind of, so I'm sorry, what was that?
No, it's like, I totally agree. That's the only path forward, that we learn from our mistakes here. And I was at a conference like 2-3 weeks ago, largely with institutional participants. And these were people who, it was a crypto conference, obviously, and it was for people who were crypto curious to already crypto ready. And the consensus was like, we just need regulatory clarity. It doesn't matter if it's good regulation or bad. We just need something. And
Absolutely.
and something that we can work within. Like when you're kind of going blind, it's like I don't know if I'm gonna get sued like the next day for something I did 3 months ago because I have no idea what's right and what's wrong. So agree, totally agree.
Yeah, that kind of answers my question. I was where we go from here. And I guess, you know, for people who haven't been in crypto for a long time, like you two, when is the last time you saw something that was of this scope, or have you seen anything of this scope?
I think in terms of like dollar value impacted and also just number of plot twists, I think this was the biggest.
I mean, if we're talking non-crypto, 2008 was much
yeah,
more.
Well, yeah.
I actually had taken a bet that at the back of the Bear Stearns collapse, like that, you know, the government wouldn't let Lehman go, and they did, right? And then they had to step in for everybody else, and like, you know, the level of intervention to backstop the whole, you know, direction that everything was going in was massive, significantly massive, than larger than this, of course. But in crypto,
oh yeah, of course,
I fully agree. I think this is by far the largest, you know, negative impacting event that we ever had.
It's just in crypto specifically. Yeah.
I guess, you know, like bringing it back to your, you know, job, right? How do you see this affecting the projects that, you know, you are supporting, that you're pushing to build on Avalanche? Like, does this mean a lot of the projects are now going to, I mean, I'm assuming most of the Avalanche projects didn't really have much on FTX. Hopefully I'm correct. But like, do you see this as a issue in terms of longevity for most projects, because now investments into the space is going to slow? Like, what's your take on the impact of it into, you know, projects of the space?
I think certainly, you know, what this taught everybody was to due diligence. It was pretty clear that there was very little done, and I think the fact that so much was invested into FTX with like barely any diligence, like across the board, investors, VCs are just like, okay, well, that can't happen to me, so I'm gonna double down on the diligence and like see where. Really do my homework to know who these teams are, what they're building. I think to your point, like across the projects that we work with and the people that we talk to in the Avalanche ecosystem, yeah, definitely. I was so relieved to hear that most teams are relatively unscathed, not much exposure directly there.
That's great.
And even, you know, for how and like, as soon as it happened, the first thing we did was like go out into the ecosystem and talk to our partners and just kind of make sure everybody was doing okay and see who was affected and try to figure out how we could support them if they were. So I think that'll be ongoing for a bit. You know, like it's unclear how far this is going to go, right? Because once, like, there's questions about, you know, how users will be made whole, if they'll be made whole, how long that'll take, and just how far reaching all the loans were.
Yeah.
That I don't think we have we don't have a full picture yet. So we're going to continue, like, you know, just like checking in.
I'm curious on one thing. Obviously, you know, we are like, the people on this chat aren't involved, but like, how do you think, like, what made Sequoia or like Tiger or I don't know, Paradigm, like what made them, because these are not shops that don't do due diligence, right? I'm very shocked that like Kevin O'Leary, right? There's so many names out there that, you know, talk about massive ability to pick winners and all that stuff. Obviously, you know, like these guys do due diligence, but I'm really trying to wrap my head around what made these guys suspend their existing due diligence processes and miss so many red flags. Because like, now in hindsight, it's 2020. I obviously wasn't affected. Yeah. It's very easy for me to look and say, dude, the CEO of the other companies, talking about regular and constant use of amphetamines on Twitter, right? Like that's not a red flag to you? Or like, there's a million things I can point to. How do you think these guys achieved the level of capital raise and sort of duping they did? I'm very surprised as well. I can't understand it.
I mean, the only thing I can possibly speculate is that everyone relied on everyone else to do due diligence. It's like you have this concept of a club deal, right? Whereas a whole bunch of the big shops are in, and you just kind of assume that someone did their homework, and it's like, okay, that big brand name is in too, so probably fine. And I'm thinking that's probably where everyone got.
Right?
Right. Somebody must have looked.
Well, those guys are here.
That's the only thing I can even that's the only thing that seems possible.
Plausible.
Plausible, yes.
I think, I think it must be the case of aggressive bull market raging and people rushing to try and get themselves a slice and fighting each other and seeing one of the big names. Because I mean, if I see Sequoia on there, there's a good chance that they must have a process, okay, if their name's on there, so maybe I can, you would think so.
Yeah.
Wow. And
definitely bull market too. It was totally a seller's market, with low interest rates, free money, and just kind of trying to find places to deploy capital to get yield effectively, and there was no real place to go anymore.
Right.
I guess I have one more question.
We're losing your
Firestorm. Audience question.
Oh no!
Oh,
there you are. I gotcha.
Can you hear me? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was just saying I have one more question, and I do see one question from the audience as well. From Blizzard's mandate perspective, how does it affect the current climate? I kind of want to, since we have you here, it would be useful for you to tell people what Blizzard looks at and it'll be considered at all, because
we're losing you again,
there's
man.
a lot of people out there who need if you want to go over that. Am I internet problems?
Yeah, could you repeat just the last little portion there?
So the question is, what is the minimum that you would want to see before you would even bother thinking about a project from a Blizzard perspective?
Yeah. So our sweet spot has always been in that seed and Series A area. So people coming up with a pitch deck and an idea like that usually doesn't really get a hard look, because we need to have something. And a part of the diligence process is to take a quick look at the code, not a full code audit or anything, but we do have folks on the team who do a review to get a sense of the quality of the code being written, and then also the soundness of the code itself, how the different pieces interact with each other. So if there's no code or something very early, it's probably a not right now. We tend to be much more supportive of projects that are early and say we'll keep in touch. We'll open up other resources for you that are available through Avalabs, either through BD or product or marketing. But in terms of investment, we definitely need to see a little bit more development past an idea.
Sure.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. So I guess Mithril Angel, this guy is actually a recent regular. I don't know if you guys, I remember at least another question from him. So he says, or she says, I've read employees were paid in FTX coin stocks by their own choice, but not by their own choice, I guess. Is that what he's saying? Through non-ethical business pressure, and now they have nothing. How are Avalabs employees getting paid? Up to you if you want to answer it or not. But I know that there is no such thing in Avalabs, but I'll let you choose if you want to.
Lydia, what's your PIN number for your ATM card? Could you?
I forgot. I gotta find it somewhere. I wrote it down, and I think I may have given it to my mother.
The answer is she doesn't use a bank. She only uses Avalanche.
Oh yeah.
Listen.
I only use my ledger or my wallet. So I think the crux of the question is there is no unethical business pressure for Avalabs employees. I've been here for almost 3 years. My background was a decade at bulge bracket banks and hedge funds and investment funds on Wall Street, and
Right.
and Avalabs is as above board as it gets, and it's a great place to work. And definitely don't see the red flags that people are now like sharing about FTX. It's kind of scary.
The stories, the movie is going to be so good. I can't wait for the series, the Netflix series, whatever. Like, it's going to be so good.
Just for people who missed it, like the way FTX was very hungry for deposits, so the pay that they were giving out, they were making employees through pressure and whatever that may be to put it back onto the exchange solution, right? Because the exchange solution was really being marketed as not an exchange solution, but an everything solution. Send your friends money, send this and that. I actually had, again, the pleasure or displeasure of watching FBF talk at the bank I worked at the time. And he said in so many words that he was out to destroy the business that the bank had. Like, he literally said that, and people sort of, applauded him. He got a standing ovation there, which I thought was funny.
Take everything from us,
anyways, anything that you would like
that's
to
a doozy.
that was funny. And again, I'm telling you, like, you have this weird uneasy feeling when you watch him, when he says stuff, and you're like, this does not sound right, but you don't raise your hand and say, bro, like, what is this guy doing here? At the time, Anyways,
well, Lydia, before we let you go, this has been really awesome having you on the show. I have 2 more questions, if you wouldn't mind.
No, go ahead.
Okay, super quick. One, we got to have you come back. Will you come back to the show? And I promise we'll give you your own walk-on music. Can we do that?
Yes, as long as you promise not to like rickroll me during the walk-on.
I'm not going to rickroll you. I legitimately want to give you. This is like, you're the first person to say that on the show, that you wanted walk-on music. We got to do what? I mean, it's a given. We got you. Don't worry. I'm a professional. Okay. Second question. I'm going to play a little bit more music at the tail end of the show. I need a song request from you. Not as cool as having walkout music, but I get a song request from every guest. I got to get one from you. I saw your Twitter says lifelong New Yorker. I was raised upstate in Albany, but I lived in Brooklyn for a good long time. All my favorite crowds to play for are in New York. So no pressure, but if you got a song request, I'd love to hear it.
I was born and raised in New York.
Like, it doesn't I love requests. Just like, don't be afraid. Don't be scared.
No, I'm not scared. I'm just saying I was also born and raised in New York. I went to school in Rochester. So I spent 4 years.
I went to high school in Rochester.
Yeah, I did. You did?
Yeah,
I mean,
I went to Pittsburgh Sutherland High School.
I didn't love the lake effect snow, but it was a nice city, like, to be out of New York. And the summer lavender fields were nice. Or lilacs? Lavender?
I went to college the Lilac Festival. Yeah, or as they say in Rochester, the Lilac Festival. It's a weird Rochester accent thing. I lived in Buffalo, though. If you want to talk about horrible lake effect snow, I went to college in Buffalo. Oof, terrible.
It was like an hour drive. I was there a few times a year. It was not great. Not great. Love Western New York, though. Love it.
Beautiful place.
Yeah, I've been like, I have young kids, so I've been listening to a lot of nursery rhymes. But when I have time, I've been listening to.
There's a Baby Shark in there.
Listen,
Baby Shark remix.
As you're thinking about your request, like the thought I had is, we gotta get somebody who is gonna request like a death metal song or something, and I really need Jimmy to fail this one time because he's like crushing it every time. like last week, Steve requested a song and Jimmy still worked it in, and it was amazing. It was a country song, I believe, right?
Yeah, that was crazy. I did a little hip hop DJing with it. It was kind of weird, but it worked.
I mean, it's becoming a mission of mine to try and like derail this like one time to see if it will ever happen, because like I gotta see if it's gonna happen or not. But anyways, go back to going.
Well, before I was in crypto, I was a DJ on the radio and in the clubs for many years, and so I'm a so I took this skill set and moved it over here, and here we are in the CLOB. So do you have a song that you'd like to hear at the tail end?
Well, I've been listening to Taylor Swift's latest album, so like I don't know how appropriate that is for whatever, but we can just go ahead and play. I'll go ahead and request Antihero for what it's worth.
Which one is it? Which one?
Antihero.
Okay, can John Production, can you get that Taylor Swift song for me? Our producer is going to get it. I'm going to throw it in. My sister is a huge Swiftie. I also have an ex-girlfriend who is a huge Taylor Swift fan, and she tried to get tickets for the big tour that's happening.
Oh yeah,
and she texted me and she said, "Listen, I got tickets. I'm going to ask your sister if she wants to go, because she's the other biggest Taylor Swift fan that I know." So I get it. I get it. You don't have to explain it to me. Lydia, this has been amazing. Really great to have you on the show. We got to have you back, but just wanted to say thanks again
Thank you so
coming
much,
to the
Lydia.
show. And
thanks for having me.
Yeah, we got to have you back. So
it was super fun.
Yes, definitely. It was fun having you, and let's please do this again.
Yes, we'll definitely.
It's Lydia from Avalabs, everybody. Thank you again for being on the show, and we will see you next time.